Hey friends, welcome back to my channel where we talk about decluttering your home and your life so that you can make space for what really matters. If you're new here, I'm Shannon, host of the Paring Down podcast, and on this channel, I help you create a home that's calm, functional, and free from the overwhelm of too much stuff. Because when your home supports you, everything else in life gets a little easier. So hit subscribe and give this video a like if you want extra tips and non-judgy motivation to remove the stressful excess in your life. Now, if you've spent any time at all scrolling through Pinterest or watching organizing shows, you've probably seen a ton of decluttering rules. Things like, don't put it down, put it away. Or if you haven't used it in a year, let it go. And while some of these ideas sound really inspiring, a lot of them don't hold up in real life, especially if you have kids or a busy schedule or maybe a partner who does not share your enthusiasm for minimalism. So today we're breaking down 7 decluttering rules you can safely ignore and what to do instead, because your home doesn't need to run on someone else's rule book. It just needs to work for you. So let's jump in. Rule number 1, don't put it down, put it away. This rule is everywhere, and I get it. It's meant to stop the clutter from forming in the first place. But let's be honest, life doesn't usually happen in a tidy single step. Imagine walking through the door after a long day, you're carrying groceries, your kids' backpacks, your water bottle, maybe even a half-finished coffee, right? The dog's jumping up on you, someone's asking you what's for dinner, and the mail is like slipping out of your hands. Are you really going to stop? Take your shoes off neatly, hang up your coat, sort the mail, and file it away? Probably not. You're going to put it down and then deal with it later. And that does not make you lazy, it just makes you human. The danger with this rule is that it creates guilt. You start to believe that you've failed at being this organized person simply because you didn't have the mental space to handle everything immediately. So instead of fighting real life, build in realistic landing zones. Have a basket by the door for mail, a bin on the stairs for things that might need to go upstairs, maybe like a small tray on the counter for random odds and ends. Then create a habit that fits your rhythm, like a 5-minute nightly reset or a Saturday morning tidy up. That way things still get put away. They're not just being left there forever, but it's on your timeline. So yes, sometimes it's perfectly fine to put things down. You'll get to it later, and that is still progress. I will give you a little example from my own life. I knew that my kids and I probably wouldn't nicely line up our shoes on a shoe rack when we walk in the house, but I also didn't want a big pile of shoes on the floor or even inside one giant basket that would require digging through everyone's shoes. So I found a shoe bin with separate top-down cubbies where we can easily drop our shoes and they stay separated. And everyone from my 4-year-old to busy me can handle popping in shoes in a hole. But also, if we do kick off our shoes and run in, it's easy to see those shoes later and toss them in a cubby hole. We keep the entry generally clutter-free and tidy because the system we've created is simple and very, very convenient. As always, I don't need a home that's always tidy. I just need a home that's really easy to tidy. All right, let's move on to rule number 2. Touch everything once. Okay, this one comes from the productivity world, and it's this idea that every time you touch an item, you should immediately deal with it. It's kind of similar to number 1, but a little different. So you're supposed to throw it away or put it away or finish the task. But when you apply that to decluttering, it sets an impossible standard. Think about going through a pile of papers. You might pick one up and realize that it's something that you need to keep for taxes. And then the next one might be a sentimental paper. And the third one might require a phone call before you can decide, right? That's not one-touch living. That's just real life. So the touch it once rule assumes that you can make a perfect decision instantly with zero mental fatigue. But decluttering is full of decision fatigue. You're not just sorting things. You are confronting guilt, nostalgia, practicality, and what ifs. So here's a better way to declutter. Declutter in layers. The first layer is easy. Just toss what clearly is trash or broken. The second layer is what you know you don't want to use. And the third layer, that's for when you're ready to deal with the harder, more emotional stuff. So try and think of these 3 different categories, and it's okay if you don't touch category 3 at first. You don't need to touch everything once. Just put them into those different categories and touch it a second or a third time if you need to, once you have the bandwidth. You just need to keep moving forward. It's about progress, not perfection. Okay, rule number 3 that you can safely ignore is if you haven't used it in a year, just let it go. This one gets repeated constantly, but it is overly simplistic. Yes, if something's been untouched for years, it's probably time to reevaluate, but this blanket rule ignores how seasons, hobbies, and even climates change. For example, I live in Alaska now. There are entire months when I don't use my hiking gear or my heavy parka, but when winter hits, I definitely need them. So should I have decluttered them just because I hadn't used it in a year when I lived in Florida, or even here if it's a mild year? Of course not. The same goes for things like camping gear or formal wear or baking supplies. Some items serve a specific purpose for a season, and that's okay. A better question to ask is this: would I choose this again today? If I were shopping right now, would I buy this same item again? Does it fit my current lifestyle? Or am I keeping it because of a version of me that no longer exists, like the one that used to run marathons or loved crafting, but I don't anymore? Decluttering is not about cutting to the bone. It's about aligning your home with the life that you're living right now. So if you haven't used it in a year, but you'll definitely use it again, keep it with confidence. But if it's collecting dust and belongs to a past version of you, it might be time to let it go. You are allowed to trust your intuition here more than just a timeline. Rule number 4, declutter by category, not by room. Now, I love Marie Kondo, but she made this idea famous, gathering items from one category like clothes or books or whatever and tackling them all at once. And that works beautifully for some people. I think it's great. There's no one size fit all. But for others, it's a one-way ticket to overwhelm. Because let's be honest, if you already feel paralyzed by where to start, dragging every piece of clothing you own into one giant pile will make you want to quit before you even begin. So for example, when I decluttered our kitchen before moving from Florida here to Alaska, I didn't pull out every single pot and pan and glass that we owned. I started small, one drawer, one little zone, as I say, right? Then a cabinet, then another, and each little win motivated me to keep going. So if the category method feels chaotic, try room by room or zone by zone decluttering instead. It's very concrete, it gives you visible progress, you can finish a space and actually feel relief of a job done. There's no gold star for doing it by category. So like any rule, if it overwhelms you more than it helps you, it's just not your rule. Choose the method that keeps you going, not the one that looks best on Instagram or is the first one that you ever heard. Okay, rule number 5, everything should have a home. I have mixed feelings about this one because it is achievable and it is part of keeping your house tidy. It's a great end goal, but when you're in the messy middle of decluttering, it's completely unrealistic. So you're sorting through things, you're making decisions, you're shifting piles around. Not everything will have a home yet, and that is perfectly okay. If you try to force this rule too early, you'll waste your time organizing things you might end up getting rid of later. So here's what to do instead. Focus first on reducing volume. When you own less, homes for things start to appear naturally. You'll find open shelves, empty drawers, and storage that breathes again. So once you've decluttered, then assign homes based on how you actually live. Keep the coffee mugs near the coffee maker, right? Store the board games where your family actually plays or near where they play. So this was a really important piece of setting up our new home here in Kodiak, Alaska for us. We just moved here 3 months ago, and now that I'm a bit seasoned as a mover, because we're in the Coast Guard, we move every 3 years, so this is not new to us. I have learned not to over-organize the second that we arrive. Instead, I take my time figuring out what will work best for the rhythms of our new home. In the interim, some things don't have a home, but that's perfectly fine because I'm being really intentional, so not to buy organizational product that I don't need or to put things somewhere that will ultimately be really inconvenient. We had art supplies sitting on top of the china cabinet for a month when we got here, and that didn't stress me out because I knew that it was part of the process. Everything should have a home is a great final step, but it's not a starting point. So give yourself permission to be in progress. Rule number 6 is make decisions immediately. Don't overthink. So this rule shows up a lot in decluttering challenges, and the advice is to make snap decisions. Don't second guess yourself. And while that can work for easy items, it doesn't really honor the emotional side of letting go. So you might come across a sweater from your college years or a box of your child's old artwork. These things carry memories, and pretending that they don't just to decide faster can actually backfire. You're gonna regret it or you're gonna burn out from emotional exhaustion, so it's okay to need a little bit of time. I like to keep a small maybe box. When I am unsure, I place the items there and revisit them in a few weeks. I'm not just giant maybe pile, but just something small, right? And 9 times out of 10, I don't need it, but giving myself that pause removes the pressure. Decluttering is not a speed test. It's a conversation with yourself about what you really value. And sometimes that conversation takes time, and that's a good thing. My mom passed away in 2012, and honestly, I could not bring myself to go through her sewing kit until 2 years ago, which was 2023. I didn't keep a full storage unit for later, but my collection of her things has gotten smaller over the years as I've addressed certain things at a speed that felt emotionally stable to me. So remember, slow decisions can still lead to lasting results, and you'll skip the regret. The last rule here, number 7, if it doesn't spark joy, get rid of it. Let's talk about the most famous rule of all. Marie Kondo's spark joy philosophy has helped millions, and I love her for it, but it's also been misunderstood. Like I said, I personally love this rule, and I think it has tons of merit, so I really am not dissing it entirely, but the truth is that not everything in your home will spark joy. Your toilet brush probably doesn't. The lawnmower may not. The plunger definitely does not, right? And those things, they still matter. They still make your home run smoothly, so we need to keep them. The problem with the joy test is that it skips over function. So instead of asking, does this spark joy? Maybe try asking, does this serve a purpose? Which could be joy, right? Does it make my home feel easier and calmer? Does it help me live the way that I want to live? Maybe that looks like a sturdy laundry basket that's not pretty, but it gets the job done. Or a drawer organizer that doesn't spark joy, but it prevents chaos. So joy isn't always glittery or aesthetic. Sometimes it's quiet. It's in the peace of knowing where things are, or the calm of opening a closet that actually closes nicely, right? So keep what adds value, even if it doesn't give you butterflies. Here's the truth. Rules can give structure, but they are not meant to control you. They're meant to help you. Your home isn't a test. You don't get graded on how perfectly you declutter or tidy. So the next time you see a catchy quote about organizing, pause and ask, does this actually help me? Or is it just adding pressure? Because decluttering is about freedom. It's freedom from stuff, but also from guilt and perfectionism or unrealistic expectations. You get to write your own rules. So give yourself permission to do it your way. Take it slow, or create systems that fit your family, your energy, your season of life. If this video helped you take a deep breath and let go of some of that pressure, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe here, and share it with a friend who could use a little encouragement. And if you want more realistic decluttering strategies that actually fit your life, check out my playlist of the Paring Down podcast, and it will be right here linked in the description of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.